Need
This
to do a couple
conference will
things.
now be recorded.
Let's see here. Do. Give me 1 second, everybody, and we'll get started. All right, so it is now 9 o'clock, and because it is 9 o'clock, we are going to get started with this conference. So good morning, everybody. I'm really glad that you all are on the call. So we're going to start off with a couple of little things here I want to go over with you all. So as I mentioned last week, for those of you who are on the call, I hope that you all signed up with the Experian credit monitoring service, so you can sign up for the Boost program. And so just FYI, the Boost program is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask here so we can, I can get a couple of things in line for you guys we can talk about. But anyways, the Experian Boost program, in short, is just an opportunity for you all to sign up whatever bank account you're using to pay your bills with. You can use Experian Boost, right? So what will happen is they will literally start giving you credit or reporting all of, so let's say you're paying your rent out of your bank account, you're paying your cell phone bill, you're paying your electric bill, you're paying your gas, whatever it might be. They're going to start crediting you for that. So this is going to be a huge opportunity for people to start getting credit, positive, good credit for things that they're paying for anyway that in the past you really couldn't get any credit for. So that this is, if you haven't done it, please, 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 for your own benefit, just go and sign up for Experian Credit Monitoring, and then simply sign up for the Boost program. It's pretty simple to do. I did it myself. Yeah, it's just a good look, y'all. It's a really, really good look. So, if it were me and I were you, I would do it. Anytime you can have an opportunity to boost your credit score, you need to take that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is for those of you who are paying rent as opposed to a mortgage, we talked about this last week and we've talked about it at different times. You guys really need to sign up for either Credit Karma, Credit, good Lord, I'm having brain fade, sorry. So there's Credit Karma, Rental Karma, and the third one, I just can't think of it for right this second, but if you look up, if you just Google sites like Credit Karma, then there you go. You'll get a list of places you can go, because you need to start getting credit for those monies that you're paying out every month, month in, month out, and you're currently not getting any credit as far as your paydex score goes. I'm sorry, as far as your FICO score goes. So now that we have that out of the way, hopefully you guys go and do those things, because we need to start building our personal credit files. I say this a lot. I think that it is time now to get as much money as you possibly can in your pocket, enough of other people's money. In other words, lending institutions money in your pocket now, so you can protect yourself for what I believe is going to be a definite downturn in the economy coming up. So from all the different things that I listen to and watch, it's just my personal opinion, obviously, but I believe that there is a very good possibility that we're going to have an economic downturn. And so we need to get as much money in our pocket for two reasons, actually. One, to protect ourselves from the economic downturn, and number two is to be positioned to take advantage of any opportunities that come our way if there is an economic downturn. And quite frankly, even if there's not, let's say everything just stays the same or gets better, it always makes sense to have as much capital, as much working capital as you can in your pocket. And the easiest way to do that, obviously, is to borrow as much money as you possibly can. Because as we all know, and we've talked about this before, it's super, super duper important to realize one thing, okay, is that you can always borrow more money in a year than you could ever earn in a year, right? Because it's very simple. So let's say, once again, I've used this analogy before, but I keep on repeating it because I want you guys to understand something. So I'm going to give you guys an example. For the average person, whatever part of the country you're in, if you get your credit right, you can potentially go out and buy a house, right? So you get your credit right, you make a certain amount of income, you can buy a house in whatever part of the country you are in. So think about that. So if it's a house and you're somewhere back east and you're paying $250,000 for it, right? That $250,000, how long would it take you to earn that $250,000? Someplace like parts of California, it might be $600,000-$700,000, or in LA, it could be $500,000 to $1 million to get a quote unquote average home. And so, if someone's willing to lend you probably what it would take you 15 to 20 years to save, if you could save that, why wouldn't you do that? And the same thing goes for credit cards. The same thing goes for loans. The same thing goes for any type of, monies that you can get, other people's monies that you can get in your door. For instance, so we were running a test using another company that I mentioned before. I'm not going to re-mention them again, and seeing what they can do. Right? So I've taken one for the team. I've taken a hit for the team, so to speak. And I went through this other company, and they're charging me money for it. And come to find out that they don't know any more than what we know, what I know, and what the people I work with know. But we're constantly testing to see what's out there, so that way for our client base, we're able to say, well, look, here's some new stuff that we've learned. And even if it costs us money, like in this particular instance, it's costing me a whole lot of money for what I consider to be very little. And more importantly, they've turned me on to places that I already knew about and we already suggest to our client base, to go to. So, but it's going to cost me $4,000 to do business with these people. And honestly, I'm not going to say it's a wasted $4,000, because it has allowed me to know what other people out in this industry are doing. So they ran my stuff through my credit, through Goldman Sachs. So basically, a lot of you have heard of Marcus by Goldman Sachs, and so I picked up $20,000 from them, and I'm picking up another $20,000 from SoFi. So, and those are things that you all should know already. SoFi is giving up $20,000, and Goldman Sachs is giving up $20,000. And those are places that you all can go to. So, admittedly, Goldman Sachs has a very high interest rate. Even if you have a decent credit file, they have a very high interest rate. But Marcus by Goldman Sachs will give you money, right? And they give you money without a whole lot of BS attached. Okay, so you will have to have paycheck stubs. You will have to have So basically, with them, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, they want back in front of your driver's license. You don't have to submit a Social Security card, but they will have you do two pay periods of paycheck stubs. And then with SoFi, what I have found with them is their interest rate is high but lower than Marcus. Okay, and they typically require a bit more. And so with SoFi, SOFI, what they want is the same. So back and front of your driver's license, they want 2 paycheck stubs. Now with SoFi, they're kind of funny. If for like my instance, because I'm so closely linked to my business, they wanted a bunch of business information, which I refused to give to them because my thing is that I am not my business. And so if you are a small business owner, you're going to want to make sure that you have that separation, that you definitely keep the separation. So SoFi kept on asking for, well, we want your business returns as well. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. What I would explain to them is I have no distribution. In other words, simply saying that although I am the president and COO of this small company, so chief operating officer of this small company, I don't have any shares in the company. Now, whether that's true or not, but that's what you have to explain to people when you want, because you want to make sure that you always have separation. You always want to make sure that people understand when you're doing business, that when you're getting a business loan, it is your business that you're getting the loan for. And when you're getting a personal loan, it is your personal that you're getting the loan for. You have to keep those two things separated. It's mandatory, because if you do not, what ends up happening is if something goes wrong on either business or the personal side, you will end up getting screwed on both ends. And we always want to keep ourselves in a position where if something goes wrong with our personal, then it's our personal, right? We don't want all the building we've done with our business to be affected. Because, so let's say you've built your business and it's just looking phenomenal, and you've gotten to a point where you can start getting monies, right, without your business having a guarantor. Well, you don't want them to have connected you, if something goes wrong with you personally, to your business, because now they're going to say, okay, well, even though your business looks fantastic and it should be able to get funds on its own, but it can't, because the two are interlinked. So that's why it's imperative that anytime you're doing anything, whether it's with credit cards, business loans, personal loans, anything of that nature, that you keep everything separate. And if they want to bring the two together, then you have a choice. You can say, I'm just not going to do business with you because you don't understand that a business is a business, and my personal information is my personal information. So you have that choice to just not do business with them, or you can do what I chose to do, which is just say to them, look, I run the company, true enough. I work for the company in this specific regard. So I work for the company as the janitor. I work for the company as the president. I work for the company as the secretary. Whatever it is that your position is with that company, you need to make sure that they understand that there's no way in hell I'm giving you any other information other than my paycheck stubs, right? And information and my social, because it's a personal loan. It has nothing to do with the company, nothing. And you really have to force the issue with these companies, because they will ask you over and over and over again. And quite frankly, and I don't mean this in a you have to always be careful when I'm talking to people. So I'm going to say this. Yeah, I don't need their 20 grand. You know what I mean? I don't mind having it, but I don't need their 20 grand. And so it kind of got to a point where I just simply had to let them know that either you're going to give me the 20 grand based on me, my paycheck stubs, my social, or you're not. And if that's the case, I'm good with that. And I actually was not even going to pursue it, but I was talking to a business partner of mine and, my best buddy, Denise, and she was just like, hey, stop playing, just get the money, and so I had to, sometimes I get where I am, I get just in my own way, if you will. And so I'm saying that to all of you all as well. Sometimes we got to get out of our own way, okay? Because as I always say, and as Denise had to remind me, dude, get out of your own way. You're acting like a big bitch, and so, I had to just get out of my own way and then just contact SoFi and just let them know again that look, I'll take the loan, but I truly am just an employee of Vanguard Global LLC, right? I had to literally talk to 4 or 5 different people to get that point across, but they seem to understand that now, and so they've already approved the loan, all that good stuff. And in their particular instance, there is one other thing. Because of all the issue back and forth with the delineation or separation between my personal and the business, they did have me pull I can't even think of the term. A transcript. Sorry about that, you all. They did have me pull a transcript from the IRS showing that I did file those taxes. Okay, file the taxes that I report on. So they wanted that to show separation. Now I'm going to tell you, one of the problems that I think I had with them, and I think which even created the scenario where I had to pull these transcripts showing that I actually filed tax, my last 2 years in taxes, is because I waited so long, right? Because once again, I got in my own way, and I think when you get in your own way, you start screwing things up, right? So when I got in my own way, and I had this little attitude about, I don't need your little 20 grand. And I'm not saying that like 20 grand is a little bit of money, but I was saying it because I was pissed, right? That they would send me through all this extra stuff for, what I just consider to be a lot of money, quite frankly, but not enough to make me go through a bunch of extras for. So by getting in my own way and then stalling out the process, it put, I think in their mind, in the reviewer's mind, it put more doubt in their mind as to the validity of my paycheck stubs. Does that make sense? Because I started putting so much time and space, you give them more reason to start thinking things through. And so, let that be a lesson to you. When you have an opportunity to get some money, whatever they ask for, get it to them, as quickly as you possibly can, because you want to collapse the time frame down so that they have less of an opportunity. The person who is the underwriter or the reviewer, you want to give them less opportunity to come up with new stuff to ask you for. And it seems that in my experience, whether it's with a loan or with anything to do with a credit card, when you are able to immediately give them whatever it is they're asking for, their list seems to be much shorter. So I can't guarantee or promise that that's always going to be the case with you when you're out there trying to do these things. But from my experience, and including this last experience, it really seems like when you just give that extra little bit of time, instead of just doing what you're supposed to do to close the deal, you're just giving them way too much to think about, and you don't want to do that. We want to really, keep as much space, if you will, right? I'm sorry. We want the reverse of that. We want to close the amount of space, not giving them a chance to think about anything other than saying, this person has the proper FICO score we're looking for. This person has, the documentation in. We have no reason to fund, right? So, FYI, SoFi is giving out money. Marcus by Goldman Sachs is giving out money. If your FICO score is decent, so let's call it 680 and above, if you can show, however you show it, a couple of paycheck stubs, if you want to start accumulating capital, then I would suggest that you might want to go and try those two out of a ton of them that are very similar to that. Now, the facts are that the way I do it is the way I would say to you that you want to do this as well, is when you get those deposits and those deposits go into your bank account. We've already talked about this, but I want to reiterate it because it's so important, you guys. There's a couple of things that you're going to want to do. A, let's say you get 20 grand. We're going to use that because that's the $2 amounts I'm getting from both of those companies. Or actually, I've already had one deposit of 20 grand, and it's just sitting in the account. And then, so I have this other deposit of 20 grand coming. The deal is that you have to mandatorily put aside 6 to 12 months. My preference is 12 months. Leave that 12 months in that account, set up auto pay, right? And set up auto pay a week before, right? Very important in my opinion. Set up your auto pay to pay a week before your due date. Let them snatch that money out of your account a week before. And this is very important because whether you know it or not, when you pay a week or 2 weeks prior, it reports to your credit, and you get this on your credit file. If you're an early pay, it's a better look, and it helps boost your credit score faster. So, as an example of something, just a quick deviation here. My wife just got an email yesterday, and they doubled her Capital One card. And the reason I believe is because we're constantly paying the debt off. And so if you're constantly paying that debt off, their objective is to have you pay their interest rate. Their objective is to have you, to make money off you, quite frankly. And so they're going to want to try to give you enough money so that you have positioned yourself to be in debt with them. So that's how they make their money. So, why else would they, let's say on a $2,500 card, and they're only going to charge you, 30 some odd dollars a month, let's call it $35 a month. They want that $35 a month. They don't want you paying that $2,500 card off. Does that make sense? Because if you pay it off, then they're not garnering the interest, and that's what they're in business for, is to make that anywhere between, depending on what the card is with, between 11 and 21.9% interest, in some instances higher. That's where they make their money. They don't make money when you collapse the debt. In other words, pay the debt off and cut off their opportunity to make money. So, when that happens, the only thing that is occurring is you're just simply paying them, or they're simply paying you. Hold on one second, you guys, and I want to make sure of something here. 1 second, please. Okay, I don't know. Let's see here. Okay. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. Let's see. We had a little bit of technical difficulty again. I always have to remember with go to meeting for whatever reason. It's just, I don't know. It's not really the best of services. But so let me kind of step back a little bit, because I think you guys might not have heard everything I was saying. So the idea is, you want to do advance payments if you can. Hugely important. And you want to do that if you go out and get a loan. If you're paying with your credit card, you always want to try to pay a little bit in advance, I should say, because it's just a good look, and you will end up getting a higher credit score. So what we want to do, if at all possible, is put a year. So let's say we're going to use the example that I'm working with currently. Let's say they give you 20 grand. Let's say that the year worth of payments on that 20 grand is going to be, let's say, $400 a month, right? So that is $4,800. So let's call it $5 grand for easy math. You're going to take that $5 grand and you're going to leave that in the account where they deposited the money. The other $15,000 you are going to take out of that account. And it's very important that you do that, because they have the right to come in and snatch that money out of the account if for whatever reason they choose, basically, and they can create whatever reason they want. So let's say your credit file just takes a big dump. Everything goes crazy. Your credit file takes a dump. You just all of a sudden become this hugely, bad credit risk as far as they're concerned. Well, when that happens, you have given them, the right to call that loan. Since you've given them the right to call that loan within the contract that you're signing, they have the right to demand their monies. If it's in the account that they have access to, they will snatch every dime of that money back. So you want to have, which is a good look anyway for you. Keep this in mind. It's a good look for you anyway. You want to establish yourself doing business with not a ton of accounts, but with a handful of different places, right? So if you have an account with, let's call it, Bank of America, right? Well, that's fine, but you also need to have an account with your local credit union, and you want to have both business and personal. And so as you're accumulating this money, you want relationships with all these different institutions. There's a very important reason for this. The more relationships you have, and with, let's say, PenFed Credit Union, and then you have with Wells Fargo Bank, you have with Bank of America, and with both of these, U.S. Bank, whoever, right? So let's say you have 4 or 5 different places, minimum of 3. But you have several different places where you have A, business account, and B, you have a personal account with. The reason that you would want to do this is you're going to have your places where you're going to sign up with to get money, right? To have money deposited in your account if you're doing personal loans. But you never want, once again, that money just sitting there in that account, right? Just enough to make a year's worth of payments. Well, that's a good look. That's a very good look. Especially, let's say you have Bank of America and you have two different accounts at Bank of America. You have one where you have taken in the money, and then you set up payments out of that account for a year. And then you have the other one where you shift the balance of that money into, so that way it just looks good with your overall Bank of America. So you have, as far as the bank is concerned, you have a payment account. That looks good, right? And then you have an account where you just have money sitting that you're going to use for whatever it is that you're going to use. So you're gonna, maybe it's your holding account, if you will, that you're going to utilize for opportunities or to bolster your business in some fashion or form. These are really important things to do when it comes down to structuring yourself overall. So some of you know, and some of you don't know, but there is a rating system on your bank accounts. We've talked about this in the past. And so if you have $10,000 or more in an account, then, you get a 4 or 5 rating. And then that's when they start offering you more things. That's when they look at you differently. If you have $10,100, the bank will start, giving you a different type of offer. Does that make sense to you guys? So you want to position yourself so that the banks have a certain have a certain reputation with your banking institution, because ultimately, when you're continuously keeping monies in these accounts, they may have come from loans, they may have come from credit cards that you've had to that you've gotten. Hypothetically, if you get not on your personal credit cards, mind you, but on a business line of credit card, you get a $20,000-$30,000 business line of credit card. You got to strip that credit card down. You got to take as much money off of that credit card as you possibly can. 60 to 80% of that credit card should come off of that card. And the reason that, I say that is because it goes back to the number one thing that we're trying to do, and that is to accumulate capital to protect ourselves no matter what. Right? So if the economy just completely died, once again, I say this all the time, wouldn't you rather have, $500,000 or $1 million in capital of somebody else's money sitting in your protected accounts, right? I would, and I would think and hope that you would as well. You want to have and accumulate as much working capital as you can get. So when you have that, if you already have an ongoing business, fantastic. I still say you don't want to just, raise a bunch of money and just barrel it all into your business willy-nilly, right? You want to, raise a bunch of money and have a ton of money set aside for capitalization, for opportunity, for building, but you never want to take every dime and just throw it into your business without a serious game plan, without a serious growth plan, because that is a way that a lot of people, including myself, have lost. All right, because you think everything's golden, and you think, oh my God, if I just have more money to put into this business, it's just going to be like a winner, and that's not always the case. So you want to strategically, place money into your business. You want to strategically grow your business. You don't want to just, if you had a, $500,000 sitting in cash, in my opinion, you don't want to just take $500,000 and just throw it into your business. It just, you want to have a plan so that as you're infusing your capital into the business, you can see it growing because of the infusion, not just throw it all in there and hope that it does grow. So you want to say, well, if my business, I have this capital that I've raised, right, that I've stripped down I've gotten loans, I've put it into a holding account, I've gotten credit cards, business line of credit cards. I've, taken 60 to 80% of the money off of those cards. I've put that money into a holding account, and specifically a holding account is an account where you have nothing that is attached to that account, right? Where there's literally nothing that's going to get paid out of that account without you manually doing it. You never want to give anyone access to that account. That's your holding account, your stable account, right? So back to how you would do that, utilize that money, is you would hypothetically, depending on the type of business, you would take, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000, and put that 1,000 or 2 or 4 or 5 or whatever it is, and say, I've put this money in, what growth did I get out of that? And then if the growth is commensurate or equal to or greater than the money that you put in there, then you would add another $1, $2, $3, $4, or $5,000. So that way, your growth, your income of that business is commensurate, is equal to or greater than the investment that you're making into the business. It's very important, because I myself can tell you that I have, because I take a lot of risk, right? So, I have dropped thousands upon thousands of dollars into different things because I like to learn about the things I'm in. So if it's marketing, I've literally dropped tens of thousands of dollars into marketing. It's, and a lot of it, I've spent a shitload of money, and it doesn't pan out. And which goes back to me saying, you have to spend your money in a fashion or form where you're getting something out of it. So if somebody says, well, here's an opportunity, and this opportunity is going to cost you, $25,000 or $10,000 or $1,000. Well, can I give you, a 20% or 10% so I can see the growth in it prior to just having it? You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to see that as you're investing your money into whatever, business program or marketing scheme or whatever it is, you want to be able to see that you're actually seeing some change or some growth as you're building out. Because at the end of the day, you may take all your money and put it into something, and then you see that there's no benefit to it at the end of the day, and that's just sucky. So these are things I want you guys to just understand, and I want you guys to start following suit. I mean, I don't want to come on these calls and just waste my breath. So I'm trying to give you guys as much information as humanly possible as I'm able to, and but you have to utilize this info. You have to take it upon yourself to do something with it, or else it's just literally a waste of time, coming on the call. And it's quite frankly a waste of time, a waste of my time to be on the call trying to explain stuff to you guys. I don't know everything, but I'm constantly trying to learn, and then subsequently I'm trying to give you all what I'm learning. It helps me to teach you guys, but you guys, because it makes me learn more. But simultaneously, I just don't want it to be a waste of time for either one of us. So if anybody has a question, they want to put something in the chat, go ahead. Now's an opportunity. Most people don't tend to, say anything on these calls. I'll get a few things in the chat, and I'll get a person here and there that'll say something. But if someone has something they want to ask, you can put it in the chat, or you can just literally ask the question. It's up to you. All right. So.
Hey, Pascal.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, this is Rick again. This is Rick.
Hey, Rick. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine. You know, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know you're talking about the scenario about your wife, how you said her credit has increased with Capital One. And you said it increased because she paid off the loan. So did she zero it out and then they decided to offer more money? Because you know the saying go where you hear people say, like, don't really pay off your credit card, but just pay it down to at least a minimum of $10 to $20 just to keep it cycling. You know what I'm saying? But don't never pay it off. Is that a myth?
Okay. So I understand that, but I don't necessarily agree with that. And because what I've always found is that the people in my life I've known that have the best credit and the highest credit card limits, like my ex, dude, my ex, they are constantly raising her limits because she always keeps her debt down to nothing. So that they're constantly raising her limits because, you know, for these companies, as I mentioned earlier, they you know, there's no money in it for them if you're not making these payments, these interest payments. And so they will give you whatever they deem necessary, you know, granted, however your credit looks, in order to get you in their trap, right? Because that's what's important to them. You know, because other than that, you're borrowing free money. And so I believe from everything that I've seen, whether it's Valerie, my ex, whether it's my wife, my father when he was alive, and a whole bunch of other people I can think of, you know, that have, just have had like bomb credit, high rate cards, you know, where they're just constantly saying, oh, well, you're not spending that. Well, here, take this money. You know, you know, like my ex, you know, Valerie, who actually is one of my best friends, you know, she will go out and, you know, do whatever and run up $1,000 or $2,000 on her credit card, but she'll go and work overtime at her job and then just pay them off. And then, you know, months down the road, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, they're like, well, hey, how would you like this $20,000 card? You know what I mean? How would you like this $25,000 card? And that's how, you know, she operates. And I've seen it over and over and over again. My father, prior to him passing and you know, having senility, dude, I mean, he was like, always, you know, meticulous about paying his bills and not carrying debt. So if he knew he was going to go on vacation, he would plan it out meticulously, pay off, you know, use his credit cards, but then have them paid off in a very short period of time. And they would just keep on trying to throw more and more money at him. So I've always heard that all my life. Oh, you got to keep a little bit of a balance. You got to this, you got to that. But I'm kind of leaning more towards being contrary to that belief system, to that thought process. They seem to work in the reverse. The less you show them that you need their money, the more money they seem to want to give you. That's just been what I've experienced and what I get. The less you show them that you need their money, the more they want to give you. So, you know, once again, you got to do what you think is best for you, but this is what I see that works. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, but yeah, you know what, I understand what you're saying, but I know you're saying for your scenario, for the people you know, say for instance, they, like you said, your ex went out and charged $1,000, worked overtime. She probably paid that, credit off in 2 months or something? That $1,000 probably?
No, she paid off that month.
Now, see, so that's I'm thinking like, so if you say for instance you charged up your credit card, and say for instance instead of you paying off like your ex did, and say for instance people paid off their bill like saying a regular monthly payments, and then but never use the card again, and then afterwards after they pay it off they probably never use the card again, because I've seen scenarios where credit card companies will just cut the people off from not using their credit cards anymore, but I can see them giving your ex money. If she just paid off in that first month, then they'd be like, okay, she's a good, good client, and we can make money off her because she pays her debts off. But if you have that other people, if you have like I say, people just paying off monthly, and then pay their credit card off and then don't use it for months, I'm thinking that they probably won't get them credit cards anymore, or just probably cancel them out, because like I said, I've seen that scenario before, but they just cancel them out because they didn't spend no money and they paid off their credit card.
Okay, but see, that's two different things. So in one scenario, you're saying that they aren't using their card, and if you don't use your card at all, they will cancel it. You have to have activity. What I'm saying is, you have activity, but what you're doing is you're showing them by when you pay your card off as quickly as you can. So let's say that it takes you 2 months to pay it off, but if you're able to do it in a month, great. If you're able to do it in 2 months, okay. If you're able to do it in 3 months. But the point is that you have to show them, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, you have to show them that you don't need their money. You're utilizing their money, but you don't need their money.
I got you now.
And that's different than saying, oh my God, I got this thing paid off, I'm not going to use it again for 6 months. No, they're going to cancel you. Because you're not, there's no transactions, there's nothing going on. And if there's nothing going on, then literally, it might be a year, but they're gonna just shut it down, because it's like, why? And that's something you want to avoid. You don't want them shutting your cards down, because you always want to, first of all, it's a bad look for you. You want to keep those cards active. You want to keep those cards active. You never want to close an account unless it's, obviously if it's a loan or something that's reached its term, that's one thing. But credit cards, the saying has always been that you never want to close them, because it's just a bad look. It's a bad reflection on your credit overall. Don't ask me all the specifics of it, but I've always heard that, and I've always seen that to be true. So, that's that. Hopefully, I've answered your question and have given you a clear understanding of how I see things. Because, one thing you guys always have to understand is I don't know everything, right? I can give you my experiences and my learning, but I don't know everything. I might know more than the next person in this arena, but the truth of the matter is I am still a student myself, right? And I hope to continue to be a student and never get to a point where I think I know every damn thing. Because as soon as you get there, you're done, because you're an idiot. So obviously that's my opinion. So anybody else have anything else that they want to ask? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Okay. So if you do, though, just jump in. So what I want everyone on this call to do is, if you have not yet, get the book, Good Credit is Sexy. Start repairing and simultaneously, I should say, rebuilding your credit file. Hugely important. That book is kind of like, it's like the bomb book. It doesn't cost you much of anything. You can get the book for less than $30. It has all of the legal information you need to start repairing your personal credit. Because without your personal credit as your anchor, it's just going to be so much harder for you. I have people that call me up and they're saying, well, hey, Pascal, can you help me build business credit? I'm like, of course. There's nothing to that, right? But it's trade credit. So you don't have to be the guarantor, but realistically, who gives a crap about trade credit? I mean, who cares that I have, or the ability to have a 3, 4, 10, 50 grand trade line with some computer company? No one cares about that. And quite frankly, what the hell am I going to do with $50,000 worth of computers other than sell them on the street for a discounted price, and then subsequently, turn around and still have to make the payments on those? That's just, so what? I want cash. I want cash. Cash is something I can do something with. I don't want to, get $50,000 worth of computers that I got to sell on the street for $25,000, $30,000, and then but still owe the debt on the 50 grand plus interest. That to me doesn't make any sense. Give me cash that I can actually, do something with. So get the book, Good Credit is Sexy, please, for your own benefit. Even if you just have it sitting on your computer, get the ebook version, just have it on your computer. And if you get their complete program, you can buy their whole program, which is the book. I think it has like 100 credit repair letters, all that stuff. You can, it's like this complete program for like $40, right? And you just go to Credit Info Center. That's either .com or .org, whatever. But Credit Info Center, and you can make sure you're there because it'll have the book Good Credit is Sexy, and it'll give you all the letters that you need for almost any instance you can ever think of with credit for credit repair. It'll give you all the letters, pre-canned letters. Please do not reuse the exact verbiage on those letters because that information has been around for a while, and just don't do it. Take the meat of what their letters are about. At the in the Good Credit is Sexy program, take the meat of what the letter is about, put it in your own words, and then send that off to the various credit bureaus. So, but please, 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 just don't use it verbatim, right? Because it's just going to get thrown out. And as I've said many, many a time, if you really want to have even greater success with your credit repair, then handwrite it. Handwrite those letters, but always send them, always send your letters in, with a USPS, green postcard return receipt. So that way they know and when that countdown is started on that 30 days. And also just takes it to the next level, right? And so once you start getting your credit together, then also for a lot of you that are on my list, you receive the ebook. I'm not sending that ebook out again. That was a one-time freebie, so hopefully, check your email. And it's the ebook is Pascal's credit building, whatever, I forgot what the title is, but it's an ebook I sent out to you guys. If you have it, good for you. Seriously good for you, because it has a list, a ton of places that you can go to that don't care what your credit looks like, and for a little bit of money, they will give you credit for your personal credit and for business. Quite frankly, there's a list of both to help you start establishing your credit file. So even if your credit file is good, but you need to expand it, because as I always talk about, credit is three-dimensional. You got to remember that. You want height, so you want your height, meaning your FICO score, needs to be up there. You want depth, which is age of credit, right? We want that. And we want width, which is the amount of credit, because you always got to remember, if you have less than 7 credit items, in other words, less than 7 lines of credit, on your credit file, you're considered to be a send file, which is going to make it harder for you to get. You can get credit cards and loans and cars and what have you, but it's a little bit more difficult, and you will pay a higher interest rate. They want to see that you have a good mix of credit and at least 7 different credit lines on your credit file. So if you can have a store card of some sort, if you can have a credit card of some sort, maybe a car, maybe a this, maybe a that, different types of credit. You want a good credit mix, very important. So once again, you always got to think of your credit as height, depth, and width. FICO score, age of credit, amount of credit. That's kind of like what we're always striving towards. It'll make your credit position look so much better. And so you need to start adding, the usual suspect has always been, and because I think it's awesome, is My Jewelers Club, places like Ox Funding, go to these different places, add those to because they're cheap. My Jewelers Club, and define other places. So if I'm not sending that ebook out again for free, simply go and just put in your Google search places like My Jewelers Club. Simple to do. Excuse me. And check into those places. Don't just jump in, with both feet. Read up on them, see what their reviews are like, and if they're good to go, if they're golden, then jump in, have that added. Don't forget about the rental karmas of the world, the rent track, and rent reporters. So those 3. Utilize them to help boost your credit score. Rent reporter, rent track, and credit karma. Awesome. If you're renting, that's what you should add to your credit file, because you're paying rent month in and month out anyway. You might as well have that stuff added. You want to start building your credit score while you're removing any derogatories that you may have. You got to do both simultaneously, because just removing derogatories in and of itself is fantastic, but it's not the whole game, if that makes sense. You want to build your score, and you want to always remember, the 3-dimensional rule when it comes to credit: height, depth, and width. And then you want to start going after as much money as you can possibly go after. You never want to have more than 2 or 3 inquiries in any given month. And if you have 3 inquiries, you want to space those inquiries out. Wait 60 days before you start going after another battery of loans or credit cards. The other thing that I'm going to leave you with is, once you have enough credit reporting to your personal credit file, you should stop getting personal credit. Once you have enough credit reporting to your personal credit file, you need to stop getting personal credit. I can't stress that enough. Start going after business lines of credit cards, and business lines of credit, loans, and that type of thing. And we know why, right? Because we know that, as a rule of thumb, except for Capital One, because Capital One, they're Spark for Business, they report it to your personal credit file. But most of the others, the vast majority of the other credit cards that are business, do not report to your personal credit file, which gives you the ability to have tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, in ghost credit. I mean, obviously, it's going to report to your Experian business, your Equifax business, and in some instances, your Dun & Bradstreet file. But if it doesn't report to your personal Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, the magic of that is that you can have all this credit that technically no one knows about, right? So it doesn't hurt your personal debt to income ratio. And that's important. That's part of this entire game, is having as much liquid capital created under our business and not affecting our personal. Because when we want them to look at our personal and say, fantastic, you're doing a great job. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So, the bottom line is that, it's just real simple. It's just real simple. And if we keep it simple, if we use the KISS theory, which is just, KISS theory is keep it simple, stupid. If we use that, we're golden. So, anywho, it's really noisy now. I don't know who's making that noise, but stop. Hello? Yeah. Please stop making that noise, whoever that is. So, okay, thank you for cutting out all that extra noise. It's greatly appreciated. Anywho, we're going to bring this call to a conclusion. And thank you guys for coming on the call. And that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, you can ask them now. Questions? Okay. If no one has any questions, I'm going to conclude this call. And that is it. Any questions before I get off the phone? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on the call.
Hey, Pastor.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. I had my phone was on mute. I was trying to talk to you, but now for me, I'm trying to get into like I say, trying to set myself up to be qualified for business credit, and my personal credit. Like I cleared up my credit report. Like I cleared up tax liens, everything. I got all that stuff off, and right now my credit is thin because I got rid of collections, just years of ignoring all this stuff. But I cleaned up everything, like collections, everything, tax lien, like I said. So right now I'm in the building process of building it up to create my credit. And sorry about that, my phone rang. I'm in the process of building my credit, but how realistically is it to, once everything lined up, how realistic is it to able to get like funding or business credit for like $500,000?
Extremely.
Okay.
Extremely. I mean, and I say that without any hesitation.
Okay.
Extremely. But one of the things that you gotta understand is that you're not going to go get $500,000 from one place as a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Look, dude, once your credit is right, once you've positioned yourself, once you've built up, keep in mind, if it takes getting 30, 40 grand over here, 50 grand over there, 60 grand over here, that type of thing, 10 over here, 15, you're going to get all these varying amounts, but it's what you do with that money, because as you're getting money, I'm going to say this to you, as you're getting money, you're going to want to take some of that money and position yourself, right? Position your credit to look even better. So let's say somebody gives you 5, 10 grand. Take some of that money and get yourself like if you know a family member or a friend that'll put you on an old credit card, as an authorized user. if you got to pay them to do so and let you just ride for some, 6 months, a year, or something like that, then do that, because it's going to bolster your credit score overall. If take some of that money, and if you have to go and do something to and there's a wealth of things to do, but to do anything you can to help position your credit so it looks stronger, adding credit to it in some fashion or form, use some of that money to make yourself look bigger and better. And for everybody on this call, I'm telling you, start changing your scenario, changing what the world knows about you. I say that every single call because it's just that important. You have to literally tell people your story. Don't allow them to dictate your story. If you have been you make $40,000 on your applications for credit, change that to $68,000 or something of that nature. Pick a number that's high for your area, right? If you're in Kentucky, high earner might be different than a high earner in the state of California, but you want to start positioning yourself to be a higher earner. I'm not telling you got to go out and make that extra money. I'm telling you got to go out and future cast and start saying, I'm a $98,000 a year person. Every time you put on an application, $98,000, right? It's a rarity that you're going to have to show that. Put that on an application. The magic of credit cards is that they are stated income loans, right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a rarity that you're going to have to show proof of what you're saying your income is, especially if your credit score is in the 700 plus club. You guys get that? Change your scenario, write your story. Don't allow the story to have been written for you. And if you're going to write the story about yourself, then write a good story, right? Say I make $98,000 a year or 110 or whatever your figure is, start telling people that. Start telling people, meaning, your applications, because all that stuff gets logged in. Everything that you put out into the world, so to speak, the credit grantors, the credit bureaus, they take that information in. They use it either to enhance you or benefit you, or they use it against you. And so you have to determine, what do you want them to use against you and what do you want them to use for you. So getting $500,000, I don't believe is very difficult. But just don't think that you're necessarily going to get it from one place unless you're having unless you have, I should say, a credit score of, 725, 740, 750, somewhere in that range or better. And you have been telling your story well enough, long enough, that it's not a guess about how good you are or are not as far as paying your bills. Anything else, anybody? Okay.
Yeah, this is Ricky. No. This is Ricky. What's your opinion on that company, Self-Lender?
It's fine, but okay, so self-lender is fine, but there's a ton of places, including your own bank, that does that type of thing, right? Where they will give you a secured loan. It's not like self-lender is the only one out there. So just FYI, go to your own institution and ask them if they do secured loans.
Oh, okay.
It's just, it's not difficult. I mean, even like, a lot of the major places, even for your business, will give you a secured credit card. So you're like Wells Fargo, Chase, check for those places and get like if you want to start building your business credit and check and say, hey, do you guys do secured business credit cards? So that way you start building credit for your Experian business file. There's ask. You gotta, ask, because there's so many places that do so much and we know so little about what they do, even though we deal with them on a regular basis and they take in our money and make money on our money in their bank accounts, is because we don't ask. So that's it. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I'm sorry about that. I was listening. I understand that.
Okay. Yeah. So go to your bank account. Your bank account. To your bank. Ask them if they do. Secured loans that report to the credit bureaus. And it's a good look, right? Because it's actually it's a forced savings account is the way to look at it. Which is not a bad look, right? You're building your credit, and so you put $1,000 in. They're only going to pay you a fraction of a percent of interest. Put that money in a CD. They're going to charge you some ridiculous amount of interest, but what do you care? Because you're paying, right? And they're going to report to all three credit bureaus. Hopefully, you get the benefit of making this payment, getting this thing paid off. At the end of getting it paid off, you have a much better looking credit score, and you have your $1,000 plus a couple of dollars of interest sitting in there waiting for you that you pull out. I mean, it's kind of like a win-win if you have a couple or a few $1,000s to do it with. But I'm going to tell you that I personally would rather go and do something like my Jewelers Club and the 15 other ones similar to it, because with them, it's not just $1,000. It's going to be $1,500 to $5,000 that they're going to report to your credit file, which makes your credit file look more expansive. Right? Because you have people giving you $5,000 credit lines all over the place, and you can do it for a fraction of the cost. So for me, things like that, places like my Jewelers Club are better than doing the secured loan thing. That's just my opinion. All right?
Yeah, I got you.
All righty. There was something I was going to add, and I don't recall what it was, but I really wanted to tell you all, and it just escaped my mind. So another thing I want to say is that you guys, I do record these calls, but I have a lot on my plate, so getting the recording out doesn't always happen in a timely fashion. I apologize for that, but it just is what it is. I still have last week's recording that I meant to send out, and I did not. But I would just try to make it on the call, because there's no guarantee when I'm going to get the recording out, and I don't make a guarantee or promise because I'm busy. Okay, so if no one else has anything to ask, then I'm going to call it a day. Everybody, thank you for coming on the call. I greatly appreciate it. And once again, sorry about those technical difficulties if you can't hear me sometimes or whatever, because it's the system and probably a lot of me, because I'm not really a technical person. So thank you guys so much. And
thank you, Pascal.
This call, I'm sorry?
Thank you, Pascal.
Oh, you're welcome. The voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, everybody.
Okay,
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
doing, man?
Listen. About last week, I couldn't
Yes.
hear you. Yeah, I couldn't hear you at all, and I was waiting for the recorded. So thank you for if you can put it up this week.
Okay, I'm gonna try my hardest to get both last week's and this week's call
Sounds
out,
great.
and I will dedicate some time to it. So I can't promise it'll be today or tomorrow, but I will try very hard, sir, to get those out
Hey,
for you.
yeah, because I'm missing the week before. You know what I mean? So I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. See you later, everybody. Bye bye.